Good morning and happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a fabulous day. If you're just stumbling on my page, my name is Donna. I'm a mom, a nana, a girlfriend, part-time remote worker in the grassroots mental health field, a best-selling author. I own an online activewear boutique, and I am studying for my Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. And I started Wellness Wednesday because I have been in a lifelong battle with anxiety and depression and learned that one of the best ways you can learn is from each other, by sharing experiences, sharing things that have worked, and sharing stories. This is how we learn best, is learning from each other. So I'm super glad to be here for episode number 90. Last week we talked about panic attacks and how to handle them. And it was really good, and I got a lot of great feedback. So if you didn't see that video, let me know. I'll tag you in it. I'll also drop the link to that video in the comments of this one when I'm done. But it was really good. And you know, sometimes wellness is a broad field, so sometimes we dig in pretty hard and other times we keep it light. Today's going to be a little bit on the lighter side, but I still hope it's going to be a great message for you. And sometimes Facebook likes to hide things. So, for example, right now I see one eyeball, but I don't see any comments or questions or anything like that. So if you're here, let me know you're here so that I can respond, shout you out, whatever. And if for some reason you comment or ask a question and I don't answer, it's because Facebook didn't show it to me while I was live, and I will certainly see it when I'm done and respond. So with that said, also my disclaimer for today is I believe I've been attacked by yellow flies in a couple places, and whoo, they are a force to be reckoned with. So if you see me scratching, just tell me to stop and disregard, because they've been driving me I'm a little sensitive to them. So sometimes I get bitten and then I don't know it for 2 days when it swells up like a balloon and starts itching like crazy. So if you see me scratching at myself, just remind me that I'm doing it, because I may not realize it, and tell me gently to stop. Okay, so let's talk about today. Since this is Independence Day week, tomorrow is the 4th of July, I wanted to do something related to 4th of July. I usually try to address the holidays in some form or fashion by what they mean or how they can affect wellness or safety or whatever. But I was struggling a little bit with this one, trying to figure out how to tie independence into wellness, which there's lots of ways to do it, but just nothing was really pulling my chain. And then I got the song, Baby, You're a Firework, or however it goes, stuck in my head. If you've been on here before, you may or may not have heard the story about my little musical brain problem. And then the light bulb kind of went off, or on rather. And this is how we ended up with today's topic, which is how to be a firework. And no, I don't mean the kind that's exploding. I don't want you to be, if you're messing with fireworks at home, this is no way to indicate that you should be one with the firework, okay? This is metaphorically speaking, because being a firework can be a metaphor for living a vibrant, impactful, and inspiring life. So I've got some great tips today on how to embody the qualities of a firework. And I'm so tickled about this. So here we go. If you have questions, if you have comments, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. Again, if I don't see them, it's because Facebook is playing hide and seek, and I will be happy to respond afterwards. But like I said, if you're here, let me know you're here, just so that if by chance I see it, I can respond. All right. So how can we be a firework? And again, this is more of an inspirational kind of pep rally thing today. But I hope you find something important and meaningful for you in it. So how we can be a firework. Here are some ways we can embody the qualities of a firework. Embrace your uniqueness. That's number one. We can celebrate individuality, recognize and embrace the things that make you unique. Just like fireworks, everyone has their own unique colors and patterns. And I found that to be true. And part of my anxiety and depression has been spending a large amount of my life believing that I was wired differently, and that because of that, I was strange and weird and not acceptable. Some of that comes from bullying when I was growing up. Some of that just comes from observing that I didn't necessarily look at things or think of things the same way as the people around me. which may or may not have been simply because I had the wrong people around me. But we are all individual, and we each have things that make us unique. And that doesn't mean they are bad. That means that we are unique. If we were all the same, life wouldn't be any fun, y'all. So just like fireworks, everyone has their own unique colors and patterns. And I encourage you to find and embrace those. It took me a very long time to embrace those in myself. And I am so glad that I did, or I wouldn't be here talking to you today. Number 2, under embrace your uniqueness, is to showcase your talents. Don't be afraid to display your talents and passions. So often we are inclined to hide those things about us because we think it's not going to be good enough. I've just recently become a member of a chat group that's associated with the residency I'm going to be doing for my degree this month. And I previously in school have been one of the oldest students. I have been one of the more accomplished students just because I was one of the oldest. And this group is a different animal for me because a lot of these women that are in this group, and now that I think about it, if there's any men, they're staying pretty quiet. But a lot of the women that are in this group, they also are published authors. They have started their own classes. They've started their own coaching work while they're studying for their MS of clinical mental health counseling. So good morning, Miss Kayla. There's my super Kayla. So this is a little bit of a different animal. And I came into this chat group, and as I started reading all these things, I started feeling less than. I started feeling like, oh, well, I should be further along. I should be where some of these people are. I'm actually kind of behind where I've kind of been ahead in the past. And I struggled with that for a couple of days. But here's the bottom line. Our journeys are different than everybody else's. Just because we're not at the same place in our journey as whoever we're looking at doesn't mean that we are in a bad place in our journey or that we're not far enough along. We are where we should be in our journey. So don't be afraid to display your talents. Don't be afraid to display your passions. Just because when you compare to somebody else, they may not look like theirs and you may feel like you should be where they are. That's us. That's our brains telling us we're not good enough. It's a way of finding where we're not good enough. So wherever we are, whatever our talents are, whatever our passions are, it's super important that we share them with the world in the space that we're in. And that we don't worry about whether or not we are where we are supposed to be in comparison to somebody else's journey. So that's really important. All right, so number 2 on how to embody the qualities of a firework. Shine brightly. We all know fireworks shine brightly, right? And that starts by being confident. I know that's, yes, don't ever should on yourself. That's absolutely right. That's so good, Carla. Thank you so much and good morning. So shine brightly, be confident. Confidence is key. Now that's easier said than done. I know that as well as anybody else. You have to believe in yourself and your abilities, and that kind of relates to what I was just talking about. Wherever you are in your journey, you are where you are supposed to be, and you need to believe that you are capable of what it is you're doing and what it is you want to do. Otherwise, you won't move from one to the other. So confidence is key. And some people don't like the fake it till you make it adage. I do. And here's why, because practice makes perfect. And if you don't believe in yourself and your abilities, then sometimes if you tell yourself you do enough, you will start. I've told this story before about the girl that started doing TikTok videos every day talking about how beautiful she was because she didn't believe she was beautiful. And somebody else told her that the more she told herself she was, the more she would believe it. And so she began doing these TikTok videos to test the theory. And lo and behold, if she didn't really truly start to love herself, the way she looked and everything about herself, and she discovered her beauty in a way that she had never seen it before. So believe in yourself and your abilities. And if you don't, fake it till you make it. Do that. Believe that you can do something and do it anyway, even if you don't feel like you have the ability. Because if you don't even try, you will never get there. Another aspect of shining brightly is to be positive. Attitude is everything. I truly believe that Maintain a positive attitude and spread positivity to those around you. Now, we could really dig into this topic for days. I may make it toxic positivity, a future topic, so that we can kind of dissect that a little bit. But maintaining a positive attitude means that you believe there's more than just whatever terrible thing. To me, it means that you believe there's more than whatever terrible thing is happening or unfolding in front of you. And that it is going to get better. And it's okay to spread that positivity. I've talked before about the people that were the kind of the first people I ever really looked up to, that kind of helped me change my mindset. My friend that was just happy all the time, even when she was angry, she was still smiling. And I began to think, I wish I could be like that. So I started spending more time with her, and the more time I spent with her, the less tolerance I had for negativity. And that is really when my mindset and my life began to change. So spread that positivity. Positively, spread that positive attitude. Attitude really is at least half the battle. It truly is. And I was that person that never believed that. I just believed that I was wired this way, and this is how things worked for me, and that's how it was, and there was nothing I could do to change it. So if you don't feel positive, then there are steps you can take to change that. And again, I could probably break each one of today's things into separate topics for Make Room Monday, Make Room Monday, sorry, I lost it there for a minute, for Wellness Wednesday. And just for those that don't know, Make Room Monday is a sporadic sale that we do in my boutique. Anyway, but in any case, spread the positivity, maintain the positive attitude. And if you're not sure how to get there, I'm certain we've talked about it already on a Wellness Wednesday, and I'm certain we'll talk about it again. So stay tuned. Also, which makes me think, if you aren't getting notifications when I go live, and Facebook can be a little funny with the notifications and a little delayed, make sure you're actually following me, not just my friend. Because if you're following me, you're more likely to see what's going on, especially if you follow me and you change the settings to favorites instead of whatever the regular or general settings are. If you have questions about that, message me and I'll take a screenshot and show you how to do it. Okay, so the third component of shining brightly is to be inspiring. Well, how do I be inspiring if I don't have any confidence? Again, fake it till you make it. Inspire others through your actions and words. And I'm more focused on actions than words. Words are wonderful, but it's hard for me when I encounter people whose actions don't match their words. So I look for actions, I look for patterns, but the bottom line is be a role model. If you want something done a certain way, then you should do it so that other people can see. Being a leader means rolling up your sleeves and digging in. Good morning, Danielle. Being a role model means rolling up your sleeves and digging in, not just barking orders or barking instructions and watching other people do it and then critiquing them. That's, to me, that's a super important thing. You can inspire others through your actions simply by volunteering in your community or showing up on a regular basis on a video to talk about your passion. There's lots of ways that you can do that, but it usually involves actions more than words. So be a role model, and by being a role model in the area that you know, then you can truly be an inspiration for others. When I started grad school, I wasn't thinking of being in grad school as inspiring, but I have had 2 people that have reached out to me since I started back to grad school who have said something to the tune of, I'm back in school now because of you, or I'm doing it, I just want to be like you. And that blows my mind because that's not something that I think about at the time, but I do recognize, because I have too been inspired by other people who have gone back to school at later stages, or I keep running because I see people older than me that are just killing it in races, and I want to be like them. So the best way to be inspiring is through your actions more than your words. Words are important, actions are more so. All right, so component 3 of being a firework, this might end up being a little longer than I thought, but I did start late, is making an impact. So how can you do that? You can do that by taking bold actions. Don't be afraid to take risks or step out of your comfort zone. Once upon a time, we were taught that you went for the security. Well, in today's vocational society, and today's social media society and a lot of things, it sometimes no longer pays to go for the safe, secure thing. Not only that, but you've probably heard me say that nothing ever grows in a comfort zone. If I stayed in my comfort zone, I wouldn't even have a boyfriend right now, because I had reached a point where my comfort zone was living alone, where I was in complete control of my environment. So stepping out of your comfort zone is okay. And it doesn't have to be big, gigantic steps. You don't have to leap out of it into a giant ocean. You can take a little step in doing just one little thing that is not something you'd normally do, that's a little out of character, if it means it might be a step towards something greater. I have a friend that didn't think she could do a job because she didn't want to let anybody down. But I often wondered if it was just that this is where she was comfortable and she wasn't confident that she could do anything outside of that world. But she did take that little tiny baby step, and now she's rocking her new job. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Sometimes those things that scare us the most are the things we need to do to get out of our comfort zone a little bit and move to the next level. So another way to make an impact is to leave a mark. What's the best way to leave a mark? Is it to write a book? Is it to make your millions? Probably not. One of the best ways to leave your mark is to positively impact others in your community. A lot of times, there's a Bible verse I like, and you guys know I try to just not get too far into religion, but there's a Bible verse I like about not letting, and I probably am not going to quote it right, but about not letting the right hand know what the left hand is doing. I may have that backwards. Excuse me. Morning sinuses, allergies. I love Florida. And what it talks about in making donations, giving back, that type of context. And really what it talks about is doing those things in private, doing those things. I like to do, how I interpret it is to do those things privately. I like to do things like that anonymously, or do them through actions and serving rather than giving, because I don't want credit for it. And I have in the past done things anonymously where I will never know what the true impact of that was. But I just assume that I don't necessarily need to know as long as I've done the act, committed the act, if you will. So for me, this really resonates with me. Leaving your mark is better done finding ways to improve the lives of others, whether that's through time, talent, or treasure, if that makes sense. And one of the ways that you can do that is serving your community. Another way to make an impact is be memorable. And of course, this could tie into that same thing I just spoke of. But by being memorable, you create moments and experiences that people will remember and cherish. And some of that comes from these things we've already talked about, like maintaining a positive attitude and helping others and being a role model. The best way to be memorable is to make people feel comfortable in their own skin, make them feel included, and serve them in a way that changes their life. Because then, if there's somebody that's had a positive impact on your life, have you ever forgotten them? That's the question I would ask of you. And why have you never forgotten them? In what way did they have a positive impact on your life that they are always there in the back of your mind? That's the kind of person I aspire to be, are the ones that stay there in the back of my mind as people that have made an impact. Spread joy and wonder. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. You know, I love my stories so that we can get through it. You can spread joy and wonder by being enthusiastic. Again, that goes back to attitude. Approach life with enthusiasm and excitement. Your energy can be contagious. If you see somebody that you're passing on the road and they've got a grumpy look on your face and you smile and say good morning, they may not react, and they certainly may not react the way you hope they will, but it may change their day. So it's still worth doing. So spread that enthusiasm and excitement. I like to look at things, again, another Bible passage that talks about viewing the world as a small child or having the joy of a small child. And believe me, if you've seen the way I get excited about birds and flowers and whatever, it's there. It may just be that inside I'm still a small child. But spread that enthusiasm and excitement, because that kind of positive energy, just like I've already talked about, is extremely contagious. It is as contagious, if not more, than negative. So it's really important, especially right now, that we do that. Be kind. Kindness has a ripple effect. And the smallest acts of kindness, like I said, smiling and saying good mornings to somebody that looks grumpy on the street, can have that ripple effect. So, I like to do little things like the example I use most often is to pay for somebody behind me in the drive-through line. There are some schools of thought that say, well, if they're in the Starbucks drive-through line, they probably don't need you to pay for them. And that I don't think is a fair statement. I think it's a very judgmental statement, because I know of and have heard many stories about people who have actually been paid for in line, who are like, they may be sitting in that drive-through waiting for their coffee, contemplating ending their life. And because somebody showed this random kindness by paying for them, all of a sudden it changes their perspective a little bit, or maybe it slows it down and they say, okay, well, not today. Maybe today's going to be a better day. So I don't think it's fair to judge people on what they're driving or anything like that when it comes to paying for them in the drive-thru. I have had many different types of people behind me in the drive-thru when I've paid for somebody. Sometimes I look in my side mirror, my rearview mirror, to see the look on their face, and sometimes I just don't. Sometimes I do it because selfishly it makes me feel good, and whatever the ripple effect is going to be for them is up to them, and I don't necessarily need to see it. So when we give and when we are kind without an expectation of anything in return, that is often when we're going to have the most ripple effect and the most impact. Another way you can spread joy and wonder is to celebrate life. We often say, okay, I reached this goal. Now I'll be happy when I reach the next one. Okay, now I need to do this, and now this needs to happen. And we fail to stop and take time to pat ourselves in the back or celebrate the little milestones and the little achievements that are in between. So we can celebrate life by taking that time to celebrate even the tiniest steps that we've taken to improve, even if it doesn't mean that we're at the original goal we set or whatever. If we've hit a milestone or a goal in between, no matter how small, it's okay to stop and celebrate it. It's okay to want to do more, but still celebrate and be content with what we've achieved, if that makes sense. Okay, overcome challenges. This is the next component of being a firework. You can overcome challenges by being resilient. Just like fireworks burst after overcoming resistance, we can be resilient in the face of challenges if we incorporate some of these other things I've talked about. Having the right attitude, having positivity, not necessarily unpacking and living in the bad things that happen, and taking those little steps and celebrating those little steps can make a huge difference in helping us to face upcoming challenges. And perseverance is the second component of that, which means that we keep going even when things get tough. To me, perseverance and resilience are kind of interrelated. They're like two sides of the same coin. You have to keep going even when things get tough in order to build that resilience. Your perseverance will lead to success. If you fail, try again. Keep trying. You don't learn anything from being successful the first time, usually. You usually have to fail a couple of times. And there's a lot of great biographies and autobiographies of very impactful people in the world that talk about sucking at whatever they were trying to do. That's the bottom line. They sucked at it, but they kept going and they kept trying, and they practiced over and over and over again, and they took those steps out of their comfort zone to become what they are today. So your perseverance will lead to success in whatever you're doing. And having a growth mindset. That's the third side of the third part of that, which is viewing challenges not as a way to knock you down and keep you from doing it, or as a sign that you shouldn't be doing it, but viewing challenges as an opportunity for growth and learning. That's what having a growth mindset is all about. And the moment that you start viewing challenges as an opportunity instead of a smackdown, that kind of looked crazy, didn't it? Instead of a smackdown is when you know you have started to develop that growth mindset. So the sixth component of being a firework is to create connections. Number one is to build relationships by forming meaningful connections with others, because collaboration can lead to amazing outcomes. And this Wellness Wednesday series is an example of that. I made connections because I stepped out of my comfort zone and decided that I didn't just need one best friend in my life that couldn't talk to anybody else, that I needed to be surrounded by a multitude of people. So back to that, what I was discussing earlier today, I absolutely will, Miss Carla. I know it's a lot of information. Back to that group chat I was talking about that has to do with my residency at the end of this month. So I was intimidated. I'm like, oh my gosh, these women, they've done so much more than me. I'm nowhere near where I thought I was. But when we make connections, especially with people who are where we want to be, that's how we're going to learn to get there. We're not going to learn to get there by spending all of our time with people that don't want to move forward. We're going to get there by surrounding ourselves with the people who are where we want to be. And what does that mean? That means this group of ladies that I'm chatting with, that I've never met, that I'm going to meet at the end of this month, those are people I should be surrounding myself with, because I can learn from them and I can step out of my comfort zone. So connections are very important, and we need to be open to building relationships with others, even if we don't think we need any more friends. Because you never know where those connections might lead. When I decided to start selling activewear, I didn't think I needed any more connections. I didn't need any more friends. I didn't know where it was going to go. I probably thought I was crazy for a moment. But then I started to make connections with customers, future customers, sidelines, other colleagues in the business. And I found a tribe of amazing people that I never knew I needed in my life, and that I don't know what I would do without right now. So building relationships, building those connections is important, because you never know what they may turn into. Support others. Again, this goes back to the kindness, making an impact, serving your community. When you lift up others and support them in their journey to shine, you also lift yourself, because a rising tide lifts all boats. That's actually a favorite quote from the founder of the company I'm with. And I think it's amazing. Well, he quotes it, he does it. It's not his quote, but you know what I mean. But we've heard it before. A rising tide lifts all boats. And that's what that means. Lift others up, support others. Not everybody has to be in competition. We can root for each other wherever we are in our journey, wherever they are in their journey. Okay, so component number 7 is embrace moments of stillness. Reflect. Take time to reflect on and appreciate how far you've come. That's part of that celebrating milestones and achievements. Take time to reflect on your journey and appreciate how far you've come. Because very often, especially, yes, Carla, it's so much more than I ever thought it was. And I'm still not even sure I understand it. Here's the thing. We may not realize how far we've come until we're in a really bad spot and we're like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm not making the same salary I was 5 years ago and facing that. And that's when the light bulb goes on and you look backwards and you go, oh my gosh. Can you imagine if I was dealing with this situation right now on what I was making 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or what I thought was a bad situation 5 or 10 years ago? This is nothing. I can handle this. But we need to take time to reflect on our journey and where we've been, to realize and appreciate where we are, or to recognize maybe where we've not gotten where we wanted to be, and that might motivate us to take the next step in that direction. So take the time, embrace the moments of stillness by reflecting on your journey and appreciate how far you've come. Also by recharging. I've talked about this many times over and over and over again. Allow yourself moments of rest and relaxation to recharge your energy. I find that Monday's a great example. I had company all weekend. My company left. I was tired. I was cranky, not because of the company, but just in general. Probably because I hadn't exercised. My diet was a little off. So I kind of had I needed Monday afternoon to just kind of rattle around in my own space without having to do anything by a specific time or be anywhere by a specific time or talk to anybody if I didn't want to. and a couple hours, a little line dancing practice, a couple of other creative things, and all of a sudden the creative side of me opened up, and by the time I finished dancing and got out of the shower, I was a whole new woman. So we need that time to recharge, whatever that looks like for us. For me, it just looks like being in my own space. I'm not much of a napper, but if I can be in my own space, get a little exercise, get a little sweat, and just kind of chill and not feel the pressure of deadlines and having to be somewhere, then oftentimes the creative side of my brain tends to open up. And that's always beneficial. So allow yourself those moments of rest and relaxation to recharge your energy. And then the third part of embracing moments of stillness is to share your light. Just like I'm doing here, just like you do when you comment, share your light and experiences and wisdom with those around you. Because the best way we can learn is, there's a reason why peer support groups work, and it's peer wisdom. Learning from somebody that's already accomplished what you want to do, or maybe somebody else learning from you something they didn't know. So share your light, be open to sharing your experiences and wisdom with those who are around you. Because that not only is that freeing, and not only does that help with the healing process if it's a negative thing, but it can help others learn from your experiences. And in turn, you can also learn from their feedback. All right, so the final component of being a firework is to celebrate diversity, which is actually kind of where we started. We started with embrace your uniqueness. Now we're going to talk about celebrating diversity. Appreciate differences. Just like fireworks are beautiful in their diversity, appreciate and celebrate the differences in the people around you. The smartest leaders surround themselves with people that are strong in the areas where they are weak. Now, you may not consider yourself a leader, but anytime you set out to serve your community or be a role model, you kind of become a leader. So surround yourself with people that are strong in the areas where you are weak, so that you can both learn and be stronger as a team. So celebrate the differences in people around you. We have a lot to learn. One of my last classes had to do with diversity, counseling and advocacy for diverse populations. We had to choose a marginalized population. The one I chose was the Native American population, because I've always been fascinated by their culture, their beliefs. Y'all, I learned things in this process that I didn't know anything about, that I have been things going, I won't even go there, but things I didn't know anything about. And it just makes me more inclined. The things I learned in this class alone, not just about the Native American population, but makes me realize how much I've always appreciated the differences in people, different cultural backgrounds, different habits, traditions, whatever. And the more that we learn about those things, the more we learn, period, and the more we grow. So celebrate and appreciate the differences in the people around you. And be inclusive, be open-minded, create an environment where everyone feels valued, and where everybody feels comfortable. The best thing that you can do for somebody else to change their world is to make them feel comfortable in their own skin. I just had a conversation with my mother this weekend about the definition of manners, and I'm going to have to look it up now because I don't remember what it was. So Mom, if you're watching, drop that in the comments, but it had to do with manners really boiling down to making people feel comfortable around you, that they're most comfortable, or that they can completely be themselves around you, giving them the space to be comfortable. So be inclusive, be open-minded, because you can't do a lot of these things if you're not open to things that are beyond your comfort zone and things that you're not already familiar with. So remember, by incorporating these qualities, and like I said, I could probably break each one of these components down into a Wellness Wednesday topic, and don't put it past me to do it. But yes, Carla, I will put the list in the comments. Remember, by incorporating these qualities into your life, you can truly be a firework, again, metaphorically speaking, and light up the world around you with your brilliance, your positivity, and your impact. There's a lot here, so don't stress yourself to try to embody all of these at one time, which is another reason I might break it down and turn it into a series. Pick one thing to get really good at instead of worrying about doing them all at once. Everything starts with a single step, so start with embracing your uniqueness and learning to love your unique colors, patterns, talents, and passions. Okay? I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found it inspiring. Stay tuned, because as I've gone I was already thinking about it, but as I've gone through this, I may actually turn this into a series where we dig in a little bit farther into each of these 8 components. But just to repeat, embrace your uniqueness, shine brightly, make an impact, spread joy and wonder, overcome challenges, create connections, embrace moments of stillness, and celebrate diversity. And that is how you can be a firework for this 4th of July and beyond. If you loved this, please share if you found it inspiring. And most importantly, let me know if there's something you'd like to see me cover. Carla, I see 1 vote for a series that breaks this down, and I may just do that. But in the meantime, have a happy and safe 4th of July, and I will see you next Wednesday, and most importantly, be well. Bye.